Hi everyone, welcome back to the Man Cave of an Acting Teacher for another video. Yes, we've got 2 more weeks of lockdown. There you go, all right? I don't know, we'll survive. We'll keep on going. We'll keep doing whatever we can do. If you'd like a class, I know, some people were saying to me, look, I'm going to hold out until the decision is made about when we're getting out of this ridiculousness. Well, we've got a little bit more time now, so look, if you've decided that you want a class, just let me know. We can organise a session together. Keep you interested, keep you learning, keep you developing and improving your acting while we're waiting for Godot, yeah? Anyways, look, today we're going to talk about immersion, all right? Immersion is not an easy thing to talk about as well because it's quite complex. It sort of comes towards the end of the learning of the technique. And it's something that will change and develop in you as an actor as you grow as an actor, and as you develop, and the more you do, basically. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about it in terms of one particular part of the technique, which is what we call endowment. I've talked about it a little bit before. I'll go into a bit more depth, right? Okay, but before I do that, you've probably noticed that when I've been talking about the technique, all of the technique is designed to rid you of self-consciousness, okay? So that you start to focus on stuff that's to do with the character, not stuff that's to do with the actor, being self-conscious and being in a crisis, trying to work out what they're doing with themselves, all right? So Stanislavski stuff is all this. It's who I am and where I am. Believe it 100%. That will make you feel more like you are them, okay? It'll make you feel what he called feelings that seem real. Pursue an objective. I want that thing. It becomes my want rather than just the character's want on the page. So I feel like I am wanting what they want, which makes me them to some extent, right? And again, that makes me feel feelings that seem real because more than likely that thing that they want will be hard to get, right? Okay, and that's drama. I won't go through the whole technique like that. But, all of the components are designed to do that, right? Right through to the really sophisticated ones like multiple objectives, internal contradictions, third place theory, archetype and antithesis, and others, right? But the one I'll talk about is endowment. I talked about this before. The idea behind endowment is when you look up, or you can look up at the other character in the scene, right? And you can treat them completely as the other character because you've endowed them with the qualities of being the other character in the scene. You've made an imaginative endowment of them as the other character in the scene. That tends to bring a lot of actors deeply into the character that they are supposed to be, because once you're seeing that other person as, I don't know, your sister instead of the other actor in the scene, then that makes you their brother. So you're kind of endowing yourself with the qualities of being your character at the same time as you're endowing them with the qualities of being their character. It works both ways, if that makes sense. And then the two of you together are playing this game, which again is very sophisticated because you don't let each other out. You stay in that the whole time until the end of the scene, and then you can come out of it. Your concept of them changes back to being the other actor in the scene, and you can ask yourselves, well, hey, how did that go, right? Let's try it again. Let's make an adjustment and go again. Okay. The last word I used there, that term I used, the concept, is the operative word for this little talk. Okay. So it was floated, I suppose, by a neuroscientist a long time ago, back in the 60s, right? That our brains work in a quite simple way where we have what we call concept neurons in our brain, right? And what we do is we kind of reserve a neuron or a cluster of neurons for all of the different concepts in our life, okay? So if I said to you to think about your mother, and I had you wired up to a CAT scan or an EEG or whatever they use, I won't go into the science of this, it'll bore you, right? But what would happen is a cluster of neurons or a neuron would switch on. You could see it light up because you're thinking about your mother, right? And then if I said to you, okay, now think about your father, that one would switch off and your father concept neuron would switch on while you were thinking about your dad, right? Okay, so look, if you want to look this up, this is a neuroscience kind of concept, a theory, which is pretty much, I think it is a proven theory now, it's a theorem, right? And it's called the Jennifer Aniston neuron. Okay, so you can look it up. And I think the reason for that, if I remember rightly, is because they got people to think of Jennifer Aniston, right? And then their Jennifer Aniston neurons lit up, okay? Because most people have a concept of Jennifer Aniston, right? So you can look that up if you like. I think it's a BBC documentary. I can't quite remember, okay? But here's the point, right? That very simple way that the brain works was kind of laughed at, a long time ago. Strangely enough, it has now been discovered too. As I say, it's pretty much proven now, I think, that that is actually the way our brains work in terms of neurons that are reserved for concepts, okay? So you have a concept of me in your brain. I have a concept of you in my brain if I've met you. If I haven't, then I won't, okay? So anyway, what's the point? When we endow, so say I've got my actor opposite me, right, in the scene, and say the scene is between a brother and a sister, using the same example. So I've got a female actor opposite me, all right? She's perhaps a little younger than me, maybe she's in her 30s, okay? So she's my younger sister, all right? Now, what I can do, and what I do through endowment, through the process of endowment, is I create a concept of that person over there, which is my sister, rather than the other actor in the scene. So I'm turning on that neuron when I decide to run the scene. So right up until action is called, if I want to, she can be, actress, 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 action, right? Sister, 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 cut, actress, 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 okay? So you turn it on and turn it off. If you want to, you can turn that on well before the scene starts, and I'm sure, if Daniel Day-Lewis was, sitting here next to me, he would say, yeah, I do that, but it doesn't get switched off, right? He keeps that switched on throughout the entire process of making of film, or at least the filming of that day, perhaps even the whole film, because he wants to have that concept of himself as the character, and he wants to have the concept of everybody else around him as their characters in the scene as well. There's all the famous stories about him staying in character as Christie, being carried home and carried out in the morning to be brought back to set, in Christie's cerebral palsy shape and everything. I don't know. I've never met the man. It wouldn't surprise me if it was true, because it seems that he really does want to pay his characters the greatest respect he can, and will go to any lengths to play them truly. Other actors, don't feel it's necessary, and that's absolutely fine too. But this is what we call immersion, okay? Because what I'm saying to myself in that moment, without even saying it to myself, because I've already made the choice, is that right now I am the brother of that sister, and that is my sister, and that sister has done something terrible to me, or whatever the scene may be. And I have made a decision about that, that I'm not going to let go of all the way through. And what you get as a result of that is a sense of immersion. You really get a sense of immersion if you have done this kind of level of work with everything else in the technique, all right? So if you have built in your layers of your character, if you've, if you have your objectives split and practiced so that you have all of these sensations going on in you, and then you endow the person opposite you with that concept, then you will feel the sense that you really are looking at the world from out of the character's eyes. You will feel their feelings, sensations. You'll think their thoughts. You will be immersed in their political views, their worldview, their appetites, their attitudes, their opinions, and everything, and they will all feel like those are your things, because you are entirely them. Now, you don't require belief for this, or faith. It's not a religion. It's not a trick. It's not a magic trick. It's just something that happens when you truly do all of the work of the technique on that piece in really intricate and complex and sophisticated ways. There's no other place that you can go to if you do it at that level. And that's your choice, how much you go down that rabbit hole, how sophisticated you are with your work on each of those concepts, okay? Now, great question, which was asked of me the other day, all right? And this is a question that's asked a lot in pretty much every course, right? People say to me, well, what happens if you go on set, right, and the actor opposite you isn't trained, and the actor opposite you doesn't have a technique, right? And what if, and the second question is, well, what if they do and it's not this technique, right? Okay. This is subtitled Hell is Other People, right? Because we do have to deal with that quite a bit as well. You will go on set and you may not, and of course, you won't have the power, the clout, the influence of someone like Daniel Day-Lewis to say, look, I want total bloody quiet now, please, and I want you to stop messing over there, and I want you to stop eating cookies, and I want you guys all to please be what I need you to be so that I can now do this thing that I'm trying to do. We don't all have that kind of power to make demands like that, all right? I wish we did, but we don't, okay? So, what can you do? Your powers and endowment can be very strong, right? And the more you practice them, even if you have an actor opposite you who is messing and not immersing themselves in the work at all and just phoning their performance in, you can at least endow them with the qualities of being that character, that other character, and your performance will still be very good, okay? And it will still not become self-indulgent, or self-referential rather. So the worst thing you can do is turn it all back in on yourself, okay? And say to yourself, well, that actor's not much chop over there, so now I'm going to go over here and I'm going to do all my emoting and everything else over here. And that's just going to look wrong and self-indulgent, and it doesn't work because it's not action-based, yeah? It's more finding emotion here based, right? It will happen, right? But most actors will have a technique, and it doesn't have to be the technique that I teach. It could be Meisner or Chekhov or whatever, and they will still have a technique that gets them out of themselves and onto you. And you will find that those are the actors that are playing with you. They are playing with you. They're literally playing the chess match, the game, the tennis match that's going on between those two characters, and they are not hiding because they've applied their technique to the work. They're not distracting themselves. They're not self-conscious in that. They're looking up at you and they're treating you like you're their brother, and that's all it has to be. And once they've got that, then you can play together. You don't have to have the same technique. When you do have the same technique, like what happens in my Friday studio, when people have the same technique, very special things do tend to happen because they're all speaking the same language. But wonderful things can still happen as long as the two actors are trained and have their techniques. When it doesn't work, or what makes it very hard, rather, is when you have an actor opposite you who is doing things that are designed to create emotion in themselves. For example, some actors like to put on headphones and listen to sad music so that they can find the sadness, generally speaking, that's going to be in the scene. They're doing everything without you, without their own character, without your character, without the director, without the production. They're just doing their own emoting thing over here, and then they come in and they play the scene, and there's this really self-indulgent wash of emotion going on in front of you, and that's hard to act with. It really is, yeah. But still, you can still say, well, that's my sister, and I'm going to endow that person with the qualities of being my sister, and I'm going to try and get them to change, because that's my objective. I'm going to get them to do something, say something, think something, or feel something that means that I'm getting my objective. And once you're doing that and your attention goes onto them through that endowment process, you will still feel a sense that the scene is working, even if they're acting in a little bubble on their own without you. You'll still come up, with a good performance that will be pleasing to your director and to your audience as well. All right. Wow, that really flew, okay? I'll stop. That's immersion. That's the sense of being immersed in your scene and what can possibly get in the way of it. Once again, any questions, let me know. If you'd like me to take you on technique training during this extended lockdown, let me know. You know where to find me. All right, guys, have a nice day. Bye.